All right, everyone. The New York Times had an article the other day about New Hampshire's racial demographics, and they got ratioed when they tweeted it to Twitter. Like, I never would have seen it if it weren't on Twitter, because people tip me off to news. Some people think that I, actually read the legacy media or something. I don't have to. People send me news tips all the time. So, you 911 breaking news on Twitter. I think that's what they're called. Breaking News 9/11 or something like that. But the article is about, it got ratioed again. It's about how New Hampshire is 94% white. And this is a big problem, and it's not bigoted to point this out, and it's partially, it's not really the New York Times opinion piece sort of thing. It's really reporting on the fact that business leaders in New Hampshire, they're like, well, we got a handful of employees that aren't white, and they feel lonely. They feel like left out. There's no community for them, which is like, oh, so they focus on race when they build their community? That's funny. I thought that you couldn't be racist towards white people, but I guess these people must be. So you don't want to hang out with people because of the color of their skin. I think, again, here's the big way to judge what you're saying. Let's say that you're saying something about white people. Imagine in your mind you were saying it about any other group, and if you begin to sound like David Duke, you probably shouldn't be saying it. You are being bigoted. Yes, you can actually be racist towards whites. I know some social justice warrior community college dropouts don't get this, but you actually can be racist against white people because racism is not power and privilege. Racism is undue hate, distrust, bigotry in a general sense, disliking someone for their race, something akin to that. That's racism. Well, yeah, you can definitely demonstrate that behavior towards whites. I was thinking, there was somebody in the comments area, people were pointing out how disgusting the title was. And in all honesty, it wasn't about, hey, the New York Times is saying that the demographics are bad. They're reporting on business leaders. But I thought to myself, they were defending the New York Times based on this. But again, if local business leaders in some black community were saying, well, we need to hire more people who are non-black, increase diversity or something, these same people would have a problem with it. And the New York Times and other groups are the same groups that had a problem like when Harlem began to gentrify, as Spike Lee terms it. And that's code for white people are moving in generally. And in that sense, literally, the demographics are becoming more white. Harlem was overwhelmingly black for decades. It's no longer homogenous. That's seen as a problem by Spike Lee, by the New York Times, by Salon, by all these groups. And it's bigotry. At least you'd say that if it were in reverse, right? They would say, well, you're odd if you think that it's problematic for us to report in this manner. Well, again, if you were reporting in that manner on New Hampshire right now, your same left-wing crowd would be saying, hey, what gives? You're defending the fact that this community is overwhelmingly white. It doesn't make any sense. And then I thought about another thing, like when I was in southern Texas, in an area that was, I think, roughly 98% Hispanics, mostly second and third generation individuals from Mexico. They're of Mexican heritage. Most of them in the home, they speak Spanish. That's just the way it is. A large proportion, not a majority, but at least 10-15% of the population down there had immigrated recently, wasn't native to Texas, first-generation immigrants, mostly legal in that particular area. A lot of influence from Monterey because, it's one of the closer big cities to the area. The valley down there, as they call it, the Rio Grande Valley, from past McAllen basically to South Padre, although South Padre itself is a tourist trap and doesn't really count. It's basically spring break vacation #1, comparable to Myrtle Beach or something. If you look at that area, despite its homogeneity, I never heard any calls from people to say, hey, it's too homogenous down here. We need more vibrant diversity. I simply never saw that. And if somebody did, if Breitbart came out and said tomorrow, hey, this one business leader in McAllen wants to import a few hundred workers from, people of Asian heritage from California, they'd have a fit. Oh my God, no, you're going to destroy the culture of this region. It's vibrant, it's wonderful. Well, New Hampshire has a culture too. Have you ever been there? New Hampshire has a vibrant culture, a violent New Hampshire culture. It's not really racially based, it just happens to be homogeneously white. It's the same as Vermont. There are plenty of native Vermonters that aren't white that are part of Vermont culture. Vermont just happens to be, demographically speaking, majority white because majority white people settled the area. As well as some Native American influence, by the way. Who cares? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with having that homogenized culture any more than what's wrong with a diverse culture, so-called? It's not even really about diversity. it's about other things. No, I see this as a problematic article because, again, I imagine that the New York Times were reporting on an area that wasn't majorly white, it was majorly something else, and I think, well, this sounds like the sort of thing you'd see from maybe, contributor at the Daily Stormer or something like that. Interesting how that meaning changes and how culturally tolerated that article would be based on the race that is actually being spoken of. Yeah, I think that it's very problematic, and that's why it got ratioed. The true story is told in the ratio of likes to comments on Twitter much more than in the comments that are actually sort of on top when you delve into the thread. Because the comments that are on top, they'll be tamer and generally more left-leaning, whereas the post itself may be totally ratioed out of existence. It's like Salon posts something, 10,000 people are commenting saying to fuck themselves while they've got 10 likes on it, and yet the top comment there is, oh, this is such a wonderful, tolerant, multicultural article. And vice versa. Trump posts something, 20, 30,000 people like it, commensurate with the number of comments, and yet the top comment is, hey, Donald Trump, 2 scoops, he'll be impeached soon, you fucked your own daughter, stuff like that. It's actually very funny to see the manipulation, and it is. It's a form of propaganda. It is shadow banning in some cases. It's basically the result of the QFD ban. That's why it happens. The New York Times doesn't have a lot of fans, it seems, but they still have a lot of positive posts on top on their articles because they're the only ones that don't get shoved down and have their heads shoved below water. As far as these business owners, why don't you encourage the state government to deregulate in New Hampshire so that more people are more likely to stay there? Like, you got plenty of people being born in New Hampshire. It's the same as Vermont. The fundamental problem is it's not that people don't have kids, it's that those kids move out and they only come back once they've retired. Because they can't make any money in this state. Yeah, if you want skilled labor, someone who's going to have a job that pays like, a 4 or 5K a month salary, there are some jobs they can't even get training for, like here in Vermont. Like I initially, for a little while, after I had dropped out of college the first time, I thought about taking training to become a mortuary scientist, essentially embalming, funeral home management, bereavement counseling, that sort of stuff. The nearest place that I could have gone to get training would have been Troy, over near Albany in New York. I would have had to relocate to another state in order to study it. There's no place in Vermont that offers the course. Well, then how can somebody who's skilled, they're probably not going to stay in Vermont to practice either. You get 10 fucking family-run funeral homes in the whole state or some crazy number. Same with New Hampshire. I would have had to have moved to Texas to practice or something like that. And then I would have had to take the training again anyway because I probably wouldn't be licensed in their states. What gives? Yeah, we do have a problem in this state. It's not, hey, it's too homogenous. The culture is wrong and bad and wicked and despicable and not diverse enough. No. It's the problem of state government more than anything. That's about all. Peace out.